Hello, my name is Guillaume. I'm a Canadian pension actuary and the author of the Actuarial Excel Addin. The Actuarial Excel Addin adds functionalities to Excel workbooks to perform simple and complex actuarial valuation of pension plans and pension plan administration tasks like calculation of benefits, preparation of benefit statements, and preparation of annual statements. Since 2005, the add-in has been used by actuaries and pension plan administrators. Trial of the actual Excel add-in is available for free at the address appearing on screen. Welcome to this video, part of a growing series of tutorials. So let's turn off the camera and start the tutorial. I hope to see you there. Welcome to this tutorial on the average earnings function. The function calculates an average earnings at a date of event like retirement, termination, death, or at year-end for the preparation of an annual benefit statement. Three types of average earnings are contemplated: best earnings, best consecutive earnings, and last earnings. The spreadsheet I prepared for this tutorial does the calculation with and without the average earning functions. You will appreciate the simplification involved in using the average earning function. So let's go over the spreadsheet. In the yellow cells, you'll have all the parameters for the function. Some are on the left side, and in the center you have, for a long service history, the earnings and service, and for a short service history, the earnings and service again. In pink, you have the calculation done by the spreadsheet for the calculation of average earnings. In these two columns, the calculations are done for the short service earnings. And here you have the annualized earnings and their ranking. And on the right side, you have calculation again for the long service earnings, where earnings are ranked either by year or by rank, depending on the scenario. Here, earnings are ordered by their ranking. Let's go over the argument. So I'm opening the function here and the function's argument. First two arguments are required: number of years and the earnings history. Number of years could be any number, fractions are accepted. Here I've used 5. The earnings history, which is required, must be from the most recent earning to the oldest earning. Service history is not required. If you leave it empty, the function will assume that every earning is for a full year of service. In this specific case, I've used a service history. Next parameter is best earning, and its default value is true. When set to true, will be selected based on their ranking. If set to false, then the last earning will be used from most recent to the oldest earnings. Next parameter, out of, only relevant if you use best earning. So if you set out of to 10, for example, best earning will be selected among the most recent 10 earnings. By default, it is set to 0, meaning all the earnings will be used. And finally, the last parameter, consecutive, it's either true or false. Default value is false. Consecutive earnings means that the average earning will be taken from consecutive earnings. And if set to true, then best earning is just disregarded. Now, to show you the various possibilities, I've prepared 7 scenarios, which are here in this table. And I'm referring to them just here by selecting the number 1 to 7. So starting with the first scenario, I'm looking at the situations where there's no service history and best earning is set to false, so last earning average is calculated. For the short service history, it's quite simple. It's just the sum of earnings divided by the sum of service, so it's straightforward. For the long service history, similarly, the first 5, in that case, the first 5 earnings are selected, And since their respective service is one full year for each year, it's just the sum of the first five earnings divided by five. And here you see the calculation is done in the green cells by a call to the function for the short history here and for the long history here. And it is compared with the calculation in the red cells. And it's set to OK when the value are the same. The second scenario, I have a service history. So for the short service, again, it's the sum of the 2 years I have of earnings divided this time not by 2, but by the sum of service 1.94. And for the long service history, to come up to 5 years of service, I need the most recent 5 years of earning because the service is not full year for each year. So in fact, I need the year 2015 and I will take 0.18, a fraction of the annualized earnings to come up to a 5 years of earnings. So the sum of the annualized earnings is multiplied by their respective weight to come up to a weighted value. And the weighted value of earnings are summed divided by 5. So you see the two values here are the same, either calculated by the spreadsheet or the call to the average earning function. The third scenario, I'm looking at the long service only, and I've changed the number of years in the average at 3.25. So what will happen is that since my best earning is set to false, the calculation is done on the last earnings. So I need the first 4 years of earning to come up to 3.25 years total. So same principle, annualized earnings are multiplied by the weight, and the weighted earnings are summed and divided by 3.25 to come up to 44,827. And if we look, the call to the functions or the verification spreadsheet come up to the same results, obviously. The fourth scenario, I'm switching to the best earning calculation. So I set my best earning arguments to true. And you see here the ranking of the earnings, and you see that there's an outlier here, the year 2013. So that year come up first, and the annualized earning is 104,000. The weight is 0.96, and so on and so forth. I need the best sixth earning to come up to a full 5 years of earnings for my average. So the weighted earnings are summed and divided by 5. And as you see, the call to the functions or the verification in the spreadsheets come up to the same value. 5, again, it's a best earning calculation, but I've set out of to 7. So meaning only the first 7 years are considered in the ranking. So my outlier here is out of the best earning. So I have my ranking here. And again, the year 2017 is first, and the year 2015 is the sixth one, which is still used. My weight come up to 5 years, and my weighted earnings are sum divided by 5. And the call to the functions or the verifications come up to the same value. On scenario 6, I'm looking at the best consecutive earnings. So whether best earning is set to true or false is irrelevant. When consecutive is set to true, best consecutive earnings will be calculated. Here out of is 0, so all the years are considered. And in fact, the spreadsheet does not do that calculation. In order to do it, the spreadsheet would have to first look at the first 5 earnings, do the average, and compare it to the next 5, and so on and so forth, which in an Excel spreadsheet, it's feasible, but it's tedious. So I didn't take the time to do it with the Excel spreadsheet. But the average earning function will do the calculation. In fact, if we look here, the best 5 consecutive earning would be these 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yes. And if I look at the average on the bottom, 52,249, which is what the functions come up to. And these calculations will be further complicated if the service history is set to true, because you see that not only you have to take the first five, but sometimes you need a sixth one to have your full 5 years of service, and then you go down 2019 to, let's say, 2013 or 2014 to get the next consecutive earnings. And at the end, a comparison is done, and the best one is retained, which is done by the average earning function, in fact. And my last scenario is again consecutive earning calculation, but I've set out of to 7. So again, here my outlier is not part of the first 7 years. So my best consecutive average is calculated with my, in fact, in that specific situation, with by the first 5 earnings, 42,980, which is what is calculated by the average earning function. So you see that calculating the average earning function with the actual Excel add-in function reduces the time spent both to lay out the various calculations and the necessary verification. It also reduces the possibility of errors. Work smarter, act faster, see further with the actual Excel add-in.